So Rivian, the electric vehicle manufacturer, has recently introduced their second generation of R1 vehicles, so the R1S and R1T respectively. For that, they have completely transformed the way they visualize the cars inside of the UI. They have been using Unreal Engine from the start for this. That's why there's also a news blog post on the unrealengine.com website. Rivian brings adventurous spirit to new display UI powered by Unreal Engine. We can see an image here in the background. That's how it looks like now. It's much more stylized, almost anime-like, with this two-tone color effect with the outlines. In the blog post there's some information about this and also some example images, like here with the camping mode and here this one from the back. In the news blog article you can also see that they seem to use Unreal Engine 4.27 for this still, and it's insane how old this user interface looks compared to Unreal Engine 5 once you're used to this. So yeah, sorry to the developers still having to use this. I also found animated examples of this on thedrive.com. There's also an article about it and some videos showcasing this in motion. So that's what it looks like. You can see the visuals are very stylized, with some elements almost looking 2D, like the trees in the background, and we have this grid on the floor as well as the car here in the center. The environments seem to transition depending on the drive mode, and here we can see it in context with the UI interface. I found this style very interesting and appealing, and it's completely different from what it looked like before. Here's an image of how the UI looked like before. They also had a 3D car visualization, but it was much more in the direction of photorealism, or at least attempted photorealism, with also the environments changing in the background depending on the drive mode and stuff. When I saw these new visualizations, I instantly thought of the presentation that Chris Murphy did at GDC 2024 about simple stylization techniques in the Unreal Engine. Shout out to Chris, he's one of the best. There are some elements in there that are very similar to what Rivian did in their visualizations, so I thought it would be a fun challenge to try to recreate the style using some of the techniques that Chris shared in his talk and take you along on that journey. This is not going to be a tutorial per se, but more of a workflow documentation, so if you're into that, feel free to stick around. I'm going to use the default open world level template because I can use the landscape in the background and I can just edit the sky and add the elements I need. So first, I'm going to start with the sky and just delete the elements that I don't need. So I don't need clouds, I don't need the exponential height fog, and just get rid of them, so I'm left with the atmosphere and the sun. So I'm going to create a new material called m_sky stylized and open it up. The first thing I'm going to do is to try to get this color stepping effect in the sky here. So I'm going to get the sky atmosphere view luminance, which is basically the color of the sky, and then convert red, green and blue to hue, saturation and value. Break down these components into 3 separate ones and afterwards put them back together. The hue and the value I will just pipe through as they come in, and in between here I'm going to do the stepping effect that Chris showed in his tech talk. I'm going to link the tech talk and the documentation down below so you can check it out for yourself. So first I'm going to multiply, then round, and then divide. And if I multiply and divide by the same number, let's call it steps, let's say 3 steps, and put this in, this is going to basically give me this stepped color effect, because the colors come in as values between 0 and 1, and if I multiply 0.5 times 3, it's 1.5, I round this number down or up, depending on the number, and then divide it, I will have this stepped effect instead of these smooth transitions. Afterwards, I need to convert this back to RGB. And this is basically my emissive color. Let's tell this material also that it is unlit and that it is a sky. Is sky. Let's see how this looked like if I just save this and apply it to my sky sphere. Sky sphere, apply the material. And here I have this stepping effect already. Right? Depending on where the sun is, I have this stepping effect. Now I want to exchange the sun disk for an image that I created, which is basically this circle here. So I'm going to use this texture, which is a circle, convert it to a texture object, and use this skybox image to place this texture where the sun is supposed to be. I now need the light direction for the vector, and for the scale I can just put in a constant 1 value of, let's say, 0.25. Rotation we could also do to let the sun rotate over time or something, but since it is a disk, a round disk, we will not see it. Alright, now I need to multiply this by this, and I can then combine these two together using a lerp. This is going to be this, this is going to be this, and here I can input a sun disk color. This needs to be orange, and put this in here. Let's add comments to not go crazy afterwards. Right, let's save and see how this looks like. And here we can see the sun. Alright, that's fine for now, I would say. Now I'm going to start on the car. Since I don't have a high quality 3D model of a Rivian car, I'm just going to use one of the sample vehicles that comes with the Matrix Awakens demo. It doesn't look the same, but it's also an SUV like the R1S, so let's go with that. Drag and drop this in here, put it in the center. And this is my vehicle, and I'm going to try to make this vehicle look similar in style to this one. Let's put the sun behind the car. And let's start. First I want to change the car body material because it is a bit too shiny and metallic for me before I then wrap an overlay effect over it. So I'm going to just create a very basic simple car material and simple car. And this is just going to have a color, something like that, and a lower roughness but no metallic. And I love that in 5.4 I don't have to create any additional nodes, I can just edit the values on the output node here in the material editor. That's great. Right, let's apply this by just dragging and dropping it onto the car body. There we go. And maybe let's just save the level while we're at it. Save this here. Right, now I'm going to create an overlay material for this car. M_car overlay stylized. Let's open this up. This overlay material is going to render above the already rendered image of the car, basically. So I want to make this translucent and also unlit because I want to control all of the color and shading information on top of the car. First I need the scene color. And the scene color I want to compare to the base color, which you can get with a scene texture node. Scene texture base color. And these two I want to compare to get the information of the shadows on the car. First I need to desaturate them. Desaturation, desaturation, and then dividing them. And afterwards I'm going to use this stepping effect that I used in the sky as well for the shadows to have this stepping shadow effect. So I'm going to multiply, round, and divide. Again, adding steps here. Let's give it 3 steps as well. And this is then going to be my mask for the color and shadow information. So I'm going to create a lerp where the A value will be the shadows. I will just leave them on 0, which means black. And the B value will just be the base color. So let's add this in here and save it to see what that looks like. So I'm going to select the car and in the details panel search for overlay and then apply my material to this overlay material slot here. And here we can see already, depending on where I look at it from, that we have this color stepping effect, where the shadows and colors are. It's in 3 steps, and that's already rather similar to the reference. Next step is the outlines, which I'm going to do on the overlay effect as well as on a post-process material. I'm first going to do it inside of the overlay material, and then I'm going to create a post-process material for the rest of the world. So let's go back here, and I'm going to create a comment for here, shadow stepping. For the outlines, I'm going to use a combination of the technique that Chris showed in his talk, which utilizes the depth channel, as well as another technique which utilizes the world normal channel to also detect differences in normals. So I'm going to copy over the nodes that Chris used in his talk for the depth. It's basically multiple times the same thing. We're comparing the seam depth with pixel offsets to the original seam depth of the pixel and see if there are any differences. And this is going to be my mask for the depth outlines. So let's create a named reroute node. Outlines. If you're not using named reroutes already, it's awesome. Right, create a comment. Then we're doing a very similar thing to the world normals, which I'm going to copy over as well and explain a bit. This is also using a scene texture, in this case the world normal, and compares it to the world normal on the surrounding pixels to get the difference between them as well. This technique was shared by Ben Cloward in one of his material tutorial videos. I'm going to link this down below as well. I just edited some of the values and moved stuff around, but it's basically the same thing. Right, let's create a named reroute for this as well. Outlines, normal, if I can write. And a comment. And now we can put this all together. All right, let's create a named reroute for this as well. Create a lerp. Get the outline depth and outline normal. Multiply them. Saturate it just to make sure, and put this in the alpha. And then I want the color and put this into B and put this into the emissive color. Let's save this and see how it looks like. All right, already we can see these outlines here on top of the car, right? But not really surrounding it that much. The outlines outside of the car are going to be taken care of by the post-process material as well, but I want to also include the technique to doing it inside of the overlay material, which is basically scaling the car up a bit, flipping the faces around and painting them black. So let's do that quickly. I'm going to get the vertex normal. I'm going to multiply this with an offset. Let's say 2. And this is going to go into the world position offset, which offsets the vertices. All right, now I need to make this two-sided, so I also can see the inside of the car. And then I need to edit this before it goes into the emissive color. The two-sided sign node gives me the information of the normal direction of a face. A face has 2 directions, one in which the normal looks and one in which the normal doesn't look. If the material is two-sided, it also shows the backside of a face. And with this two-sided sign, I have a black and white mask for that, to be able to show something different on the front than on the back. And that's what I want to do here. So I want to invert this, minus, and multiply this with a Fresnel. Set this to 10, and this to 0. Invert this as well. And this is going to go into another lerp. This on the top, this on the bottom with 0. I want the outlines to be black. Let's save this and see how this looks. And there we have the outlines on the side as well. It's not perfect. I think it's due to the mesh a bit, but it gets the job done for now. Alright, now I'm going to create a post-process volume. So post-process volume, let's drag it in the scene. Make sure it's unbound. There we go. And while we're at it, let's adjust the exposure so we have a bit more control over that. Make it manual. Alright. Cool. Now I can create a post-process material for the post-process volume to be able to wrap this on top of the whole scene. So let's create a material m_ post-process outlines. This material needs to be of material domain post-process. Now I only have the emissive color. I'm going to copy over the outlines for the depth and normals again and utilize them here as well. So here we have the outline depth. And here the outline for the normals. Add the reroute nodes. There's already one here. Right. And with just that, let's add a scene texture. Post-process input 0, which basically pipes through the already rendered image. And let's create a lerp. And add the outline depth and outline normal. Multiply them together again. Saturate the result. And put this in here. This is going to be the color. And here I could, for example, create an outline color variable to be able to edit this. But for now, I want my outlines to be black. Of course, I need to break this down to a vector 3 instead of a vector 4, so I can blend the two. And this is what it looks like. Let's see it in the scene. Material, post-process materials. Let's add one asset reference, put this in here, and now we have this. It's flickering because with especially outlines in post-process effects, you need to make sure that in the material settings, you set this blendable location to after depth of field, for example, to set it before the anti-aliasing. There we go. I also want to have a bit of the color stepping effect in the post-process volume as well. So I'm going to add this here. So I'm going to get the post-process input 0, the rendered image again. Component mask, RGB. And then I'm going to convert RGB to HSV again, similar to what I did with the sky. Break this out, make float 3, combine them back together, and HSV to RGB. And here I'm going to round again, multiply, round, and divide. Give this some steps. Let's call it 3 as well. And this is my color that I want to show. Stepped color. And I want to do the same thing as I did with the car as well, to step down the shadow information. So I'm going to just copy this over. Shadow mask. And I'm going to lerp this again. This here. And then I'm going to put, instead of this reroute node here, reroute color, and now I have this stepping effect here as well. All right. So this is what it looks like for now, with just the car, the landscape, and the materials and effects. But I also have a version that I have prepared with some more added elements and also some camera animation. It doesn't look one-to-one, but it has at least a similar look and feel. Tell me what you think. Alright, that's it for this video. Feel free to comment, share, like, subscribe and all that stuff. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.